we're talking about the journey of becoming. And as I repeat the question, the title of this talk is Emerging Spirit, a Dialogue of Becoming. For each of you, is becoming a destination you're reaching for, or is it a permanent state of being as an artist? So, Erica, we'll start with you.
For me, I think it's a constant state of becoming. Once you do one thing, then you have desire to do, hopefully, you have the desire to do other things. So it's a continual ebb and flow of becoming, because once you not just survive, but once you master one thing, then you have to go back down to the bottom and start over with a new thing. So I think everyone should be in a constant state of becoming something, whether that's better or healing or even trying new art forms. It's a continual state. I didn't think 5 years ago I would be where I am today. And in order to get here, I had to start over, which means I had to become, in a different mind frame and a different energy in a different place. So it's always going. It's a forever project. You never stop learning and you never stop growing, hopefully.
Thank you.
I agree with Erica. For me, it's the journey. It's the journey of becoming that artist or that next level of art. I've survived many levels of artistry in my life, like merchandising in a department store, or as a buyer for clothing or for furniture or designing rooms. And so that art just continues to evolve. And so now it's more on paper. And so it's the journey of the process. Here, I started with Garbo with little cards, with greeting cards that are on the shelf. And now those greeting cards have grown and they're larger and they're on the walls now. And so that's been the state of becoming for me.
And for me, it's more about, like, I agree with both of these ladies because I love and admire them so much. But this, for me, it's like seeking joy, because my ADHD will be like, "Ooh, I love this thing," and now like I hate it. and so I'm always going out and finding ways, finding things that help me find joy in life, and working in different mediums and things like that help keep my mind and the novelty new in my mind to keep things going, and becoming more of an artist, keeping my heart and mind open for anything new or any other ideas I get from people's content on social media or anything I see on television, or just unique connections, because I'm always connecting things because my mind won't stop. So.
Something like that.
I think it's a journey. It's therapy. I'm learning that I'm painting on anything. Like, I started painting on rocks last week, and the week before that it was hats, and then it's wall murals, and so it's a constant therapy for me, and I am the journey. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm just going through life, and I'm doing in my art what makes me feel good and what makes me happy.
Okay. So, what was the specific moment of the specific piece of work where you stopped making art for yourself and realized you were creating a testimony for others? Big question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you know it, share it. If you don't,
I'll go ahead and share. Well, for me, I always seek out to, I have such a bad habit of people pleasing.
Join the club.
And so I love to give gifts to my friends. And so a lot of my art is creating pieces for my friends. So like that first piece off to the left, it was at my friend's funeral. It's Dale Smith's funeral, if you all knew Dale Smith. And that's his widow. And I shot that actually with my cell phone too. And I ended up giving her one of those pieces, as, just a gift. And because it's such a beautiful piece that I love so dearly. But that's that's really where it started for me, is like giving gifts. I see my friends inspire me to create art, and then I'll give them the piece, and then I'll also try to create another piece to maybe put in a show later on. So.
And I'd like to go because that's how I really began this art giving journey. Was I would make cards and things for my friends and give them to them, and they loved them. And to my surprise, they kept them, and they still have them, and they say, you know, I'll never get rid of this, and they actually cherish it. And so when I got ready to retire from the university, you know, I really wanted to put my all into this, and I was like, if I can give a gift that someone's going to cherish, then perhaps someone else wants to give a gift that someone they love will cherish. And that's how I began that journey, because I really do believe, especially in cards, you should give a card that people are going to cherish, not just go get a card because it's their birthday and they say happy birthday, but actually that you put some love in it, you know, that I make it with love, and you see it with love, and you buy it with love, and then you give it with love, and they receive it with love, and so the love just keeps on going, and that's how I get a chance to do what God has purposed me to do, is be a channel for love. And that's what my art is a channel for love.
I would say everything that I have done creatively is, I consider it ministry. So when I would take photographs of people, it would change their perception of themselves. And I translated that same thing to paint. And for me, I think, you know, I was doing art. I didn't realize I was doing something special until I got a DM from Spike Lee. And he was like, how much?
Okay.
And it took a year for the whole process to actually go through. But then I realized, girl, you doing something. You know, for somebody who is, I consider legendary, to see something in your art, to not ask for it for free, but to say, hey, here's my card. And then I started to say, okay, girl, they see you. You're telling the right story. You're saying the right things. You're putting the right energy into it. And the more that I do that, the more that I pour into it, the love, the light, and the color, other people resonate with that, and they want that. So I think that's what transformed it for me.
I think it took a long time for me to know the gift that I had. Some of you know my story. My mother used to pull tissue from the roll. We were in a domestic violent home, and she would pull tissue from the roll, and she would draw little stick figures on the tissue, and then she would tell me to do the same to kind of divert me from crying. And so throughout life, I would doodle on bills, and just, you know, it was just a release. And people would come over and they'd be like, you know, I know you're not sweeping trash with that, you know, like if it was a bill or something, and it would be beautiful art on it, and I would just be, you know, sweeping it, trash and everything. And so for a long time, I didn't know that I had a gift. And people actually started pulling on me, and I was just like, what, you know, it was hard for me to see what they saw, but I see what they see now. And it's a gift. I've never gone to school for it. I've never had any formal training. It was just given to me. So I appreciate the gift in me.
Okay.
Great.
Well, I thank each of you for your honesty. I've known Theresa, Ebony, and Paula for many, many years. I won't say how many. But Erica, this is our first encounter. This is the first time you've shown at Hearne Fine Art, and it's just been a blessing to meet you, and I welcome you into Hearne Fine Art. This exhibition places your work alongside legends like Elizabeth Catlett and Artist Lane. How does it feel to see your emerging voice in direct conversation with the ancestors of Black fine art? And I'm just saying, we always have to pay homage to our elders, so I wanted to make sure we got that in the beginning. So please share with me how that feels.
I'm honored. I mean, that's the only word that I can come up with is I'm honored.
Okay, that's good.
And I'm grateful and honored as well. Like, it's tremendous to be shown, you know, in the same gallery as those greats.
All of that. All of that, but it's like indescribable because to be in the same gallery that my art instructor, professor is in, that I love, and she mentored me and told me I could do these wonderful things. I'm in a gallery with one of my dearest friends, Alice. You know, I mean, I'm in the room.
There you go. Yes.
You know, that's like being at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that's the same kind of feeling, and so it's indescribable because we're humbled and we're grateful and we're honored.
It's confirmation.
That's a good word.
Everything that I know we've all gone through as artists, you think that, you know, you may be doing it for naught. Maybe you're just doing it for yourself, but to be invited into the room, and not just invited as a spectator, but to put a stamp on your work, for someone to say that you're worthy. It's the culmination of everything that I dreamed of as a little girl. I wanted big things, and life will sometimes choke that out of you. You'll think, you know, maybe you're not worthy of it, or maybe you don't have it. This is just confirmation that the Creator said you do have it, and I'm giving you space.
Okay. Speaking of space, narrative, and environment, Ebony,
Yes.
photography is often about capturing a space that already exists. How do you use your lens to find grace in spaces that the world often overlooks or mischaracterizes?
Well, since I was a kid, so I've been shooting pictures just in general since I was 8 years old, and started in 4-H, started winning awards at age 12, and I just continued to hold on to my childlike wonder of things and try to find things I think are interesting, and then people don't notice the things that I find until I take a picture of it, and they're like, "Oh, how did you see that?" or "Where did you see this?" And I just keep my curiosity, my curious mind open to any new things that I see, or interesting things that I see, or historic things that I come across and hear news about to capture. So that's what I do.
Theresa, your work is vibrant and present. How do you use color to command space in a room and force the viewer to engage with the Black female experience?
All right, come on.
I noticed that in these, I don't have a lot of bright colors in it, but my normal stuff, I noticed that I use a lot of bright oranges, a lot of brightness, and flowers, and big hats, and things that make you happy. So I make love to the canvas. Like,
Yeah,
I
for
have
sure.
to touch it, and once I create a piece and I'll sit and, you know, I'll watch it like for a couple of days at every angle and make sure that it grabs me. So if it's grabbing me, it's gonna grab others. So that's how I make the commands,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Well, thank you. Paula and Erica, your work often involves intricate layering and textures. How does the physical space of the canvas allow you to process complex themes that words might not be able to carry?
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure, no pressure.
If you ask. The canvas actually says it, you know, I think I said it earlier. I just lay it out and let the space of the canvas determine what it's going to be. For instance, I'll just strip some paper and lay it out and look at, you know, how much space it's taking, what do I need to fill in that space, what do I need to take away to make each one of those pieces stand out. It's the process again. For me, it's eliminating, looking at my pieces. You know, I don't have any color in the background. I chose not to paint the canvas in the background because I needed those colors to just kind of jump up off of the canvas and pay attention to color. And so I think that's how I determine space on the canvas. I let the colors speak for themselves.
Okay.
Well, y'all see I love color, so I tried the other. So I like color and texture. So for me, it's a feeling. I'm like on the color purple when she said, I just sit back and see what color the wall gonna be. So emotionally and sometimes physically, I see something in my head and I just slap it on there because there is nothing wrong in art. If it doesn't look the way you want it to look, you can put another color on it. If it doesn't feel the way that you want it to feel, you can add a texture to it. So I think the canvas is just like a plate. So when you eat your food, you put your food on your plate the way you want to eat it. And I put my art on the canvas the way I want people to eat it.
Okay.
I'm served.
All right. Ladies, we're going to move on to grace, the internal process of how you create. The exhibition mentions the Black woman as the original architect of culture. How do you practice grace toward yourself when the pressure is to represent an entire culture or history feels heavy?
Grace, what's that?
Yeah. We're all given some kind of grace,
Right.
you know, and grace for me is that people even see my work and accept it as a piece of art, or that I allow, like the sister that's standing up over there, that she might not be atomically shaped or, you know, but she is who she is. She's standing tall. And so there's grace in allowing what I see as art to be perceived by someone as something beautiful. So I think grace comes from someone else or given to me, you know, not me necessarily giving to anyone else, but that I receive that grace.
For me, when I think about just grace in general, the act of creating art is giving yourself grace and permission to do something that maybe has never existed before. So to look around the room and see everyone's interpretation of what art is to them, me having the opportunity to look at your work is grace.
It's grace.
Because I didn't know you before today. So I think art and grace in harmony is exactly what we see today, is everyone getting an opportunity to tell their story, and then for every person in the room to have an opportunity to feast upon that grace, and you get what you want to get from that. And I think that's the beauty of grace and art and how it flows through the energy space. So I think just the process of creating and how freeing it is and how you pour into it, it is a reminder that there are no mistakes. It's a reminder that even if you think something is wrong, someone else can find beauty in it. And I think that's what grace is that you give yourself an opportunity to do the bad, to do the ugly, and turn that ugly into beautiful. To me, that's what it is for me.
Okay.
For me, it's more of being kind to myself, because I can be, Like even just seeing my work up here, I'm still really hard on myself, but I also need to like write down what do I think I could do better to improve this for future exhibitions, and not be so hard on myself trying to compare with other artists, with you all, or with other artists that do cyanotypes or whatever. It's just being kind to myself and not being so hard on myself about trying to seek perfection.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm still trying to think, but if I could, I would go with her answer first. And then her, they really summed it up.
It's okay to say ditto. It's okay. It's all right. So, in a world that demands strength from Black women, how does your art allow you to explore vulnerability or softness? Or does it?
Well, for me as a photojournalist, it allows me to, like I said earlier, find the photos that I find are interesting, which is like peering into people's lives or my life or things that I just see. That's my phone, I'm sorry. I got to silence it before I came in. But now I've lost my track of thought. But yeah, that's really, what was the question? ADHD!
It's all good. I'll repeat it. In a world that often demands strength from Black women, how does your art allow you to be vulnerable or soft, or does it?
It does, because it allows me to find, like I said, interesting photos, and it's peering into other people's lives or my life, or peering into things that I see and find interesting that other people don't typically see, because like I said, ADHD, and I see random stuff and I'll be like, oh, you see that blue bird on the, and people just give me the glassy-eyed stare, but whenever I take a picture of it, then they're like, oh, that's beautiful, you know. So that's for me, that's how I you know, my vulnerability is kind of flipped, because once I capture the photo, then it's interesting. But if I just talk about it, people are just like, this chick is just random and weird. So
Okay.
that's how it works for me.
Okay. I can handle that.
Yeah.
I can handle that statement because we as Black women really do feel a lot of pressure to be strong, and I felt that a lot through my cancer journey. You know, I'm trying to look strong, you know, be strong, but man, I was weak as all give out. I mean, I couldn't do anything, and so the strength to create is already, I give it to the art as opposed to take it upon myself. I let the strength of my art speak for me, so I can breathe and sit back and you know, cross my legs and be cute. You know, I let the women that have become the sandstones, you know, women that have become the strength of me, that the resilience of them, they've survived the sand dunes of the Michigan, Lake Michigan. They've survived being stepped on and being tossed about by the wind and the rain. They've survived, and I can give to them that strength, so I can just sit back and let the world see what strength looks like to me, as opposed to carrying all of that on my shoulders. I think that's the best answer that I can give right now.
I paint like a wealthy woman.
You have a paint a wealthy woman.
And I say that to say I create with an ease. I refuse to be strong. I don't want to be. I want to walk around my house and paint in a nice gown with feathers and not have to worry about any of the stereotypes that are put upon us as Black women. So me walking away from my job and picking up a canvas, that is me going against the grain, and I'm not strong. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to take trash out. I don't want to do that. I want to paint. So everything that I create is about getting away from that strength, is going into being more vulnerable. being beautiful, being sexy, being desired, and doing nothing if I don't want to do anything. And I think disconnecting myself mentally from that stereotype is when you get this.
Okay.
When I was clocking in at a job every day, I had to be that. And I just refused to go back to that.
Okay. Don't feel pressure. You don't have to.
No, I am strength. I am, when you look at me, I am don't give up. And I work a full-time job, and then I get off work, and then I come home, and then I do my art, and it allows me to be soft. So I can jump over here, and I can jump over here. It's kind of like multitasking, you know, so I'm kind of a mixture of it all. So that's mine.
Okay. So the mediums that each of you have chosen, everybody has a different medium that's their signature. Do you feel that it gives you a specific kind of grace or freedom that other forms of expression don't?
I think they're all the same. I think it's just you choose what medium works for you. I've tried oil and it takes too long. I'm impatient. Like it's great. It's the blend is it's awesome. But I have asthma and it stinks. So for me, it's acrylic. I can paint it acrylic, you know, and not have to cough and not need my inhaler. So everybody chooses their medium, whether it's paper or it's fabric. I believe you choose it because it chooses you.
Okay. Good
For
answer.
sure. Yeah, for
There's
sure.
a snap on that one. Okay. All right. So let's move on to power, creation as a revolution. The curatorial statement says that creation is a revolution. When you're in your studio, do you feel like that you're performing an act of protest or an act of peace?
Yeah, protest.
A little protest?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because society wants me to be one thing. And I decided I don't want that. So yes, it's protest. It's middle finger to the man. It's all the things. I ain't gonna say what I want to say. But absolutely.
Okay.
Because they, you know, I'm supposed to be cooking and cleaning and birthing babies.
Okay, come on.
And I ain't doing that.
Okay.
Even my husband knows I ain't doing that.
Yeah,
And he like it. And he okay with it.
yeah, it really is protest because I can't do both. I can't do art and clean my house at the same time. And right now, my house is my studio. Oh, Lord.
Mine too.
Oh.
Yeah, mine's a mess.
So, you know, you have to choose. And when you choose your art, it is a form of protest because your house is supposed to be clean. Your dishes are supposed to be washed in the sink, you know. Things are supposed to be done in that kind of order, but no, the peace that I choose is the protest because I can't do both. I have to do one or the other. I choose to do art or I choose to clean my house. And sometimes, you know, art has to be laid down so that I can clean my house because I would much rather be doing art. I gotta clean my house. I can't do both. So
Okay.
peace is what I have. Peace isn't what I give.
Okay.
See, for me, peace for a while I thought was like working for other magazines that I didn't quite agree with. And then like I was just going through old magazines that I had work in and they didn't credit me and things like that. And I was like, oh no, now I see why I don't work for them anymore. But now my art allows me to protest and give voice to the voiceless and just share the stories that I see visually in life in general, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Half and half, please.
Okay. So if you could have a dialogue with one of the historical artists in this show, like Samuel Lewis or Elizabeth Catlett, what is the one question you'd ask them about staying empowered in this industry?
How did you do it in such a more difficult time? Like, it's kind of easy now that we have some technology, but how did you do it? Like, whenever I used to shoot pictures a long time ago, I shot with an all-manual film camera, even winding, shooting sports. And like going back even further, whenever there was even less technology, how did you manage everything? How did you all network with people and stay relevant?
Yeah, how did you do it? That's the question.
Yeah, this is how.
Okay. So how do we ensure that space for Black women artists in the fine art world isn't just a trend for this moment, but a permanent shift in power?
And we continue to show up and create.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's how.
Continue to show little girls and other women that it doesn't matter how old you are when you start, that your voice is relevant and is needed. So I think just doing it in itself is protest. It is showing people how to, defy the odds. Yeah, like you said, cleaning the house or doing your art. I mean, they need to see you doing it to know that you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and sharing, especially with our children, I worked with children for many years with Children International, and my thing was to introduce art to them in a way that helped them understand art. And so if we're not showing up for our children and letting them know, how beautiful art is or how easy art is, because it really is easy. I mean, they've made it hard. They've made it hard thinking that, you can't do this or giving labels on artists, but we've got to show up for our children, whether it's spoken art or spoken word or theater or music or whatever that art form is. We just have to show up for them, so that just like us looking to Elizabeth Catlett and Smella Lewis in the other room, I looked up to them. We got to show up so that we can have them looking up to us. Like last night, I had 5 generations of my family here. That's just it's a phenomenal thing for me, because my 4-year-old great-granddaughter, she gets to see me on a wall with some art, that at 4 years old, she might not understand that, but we got some pictures now that we can show her that she was in this room when her great-grandmother was on the wall of a gallery. And so I think showing up for our children is key.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is being an example so that they know that it's an option. Whenever they don't see the example, they don't know that it can happen or they can do it. And I'm just grateful for my family being supportive in my artistic endeavors throughout the years.
Yeah.
I've known since I was 5 that I wanted to be an artist, but I just didn't know how. And just grew into photography on my own.
Shut up. I wanted to be an artist. I kind of was half and half too, because I knew I could create, but I didn't want to, it was a stereotype, like you had to die before you could get the money or something. I didn't want, so, but I think education and showing up is the best method.
Okay. I've been doing a lot of talking. We have an audience here. Does anyone have a question for any of these wonderful, beautiful artists?
Phyllis Brown online made a statement: hire a housekeeper to clean your house.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Hire a housekeeper to clean your house.
I like that idea, and that's what this art is supposed to do: afford me a house cleaner.
The house cleaner. I just say, collect the painting and I can.
Afford me a house cleaner. So that's why I do what I do, is so I can afford a house cleaner. Period.
Amen.
So my question is, of the pieces that you have in here, or maybe it's a piece not here, what are you most proud of and why?
proud that I'm on this path, that I have the support of my friends and family to be able to follow through with my artistic endeavors, because so many people that are artists don't, you know, and it's sad to see whenever, it's sad for me to see other people that I know that are artists, like out on the street or anything like that. I could be that same person easily. And I'm just, you know, I'm proud to be able to just have my work on the wall, just period.
I don't think anyone in particular says that I'm proud. I think the collection of them, you know, I mean, I got 4 pieces on the wall in a gallery in one of the best Black galleries in the world.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
First of all, you know, is just phenomenal. So I think together, I think they make a statement together that, you know, I did that, you know, and it's not just one piece, it's 4 pieces up there, you know, so I think that's more to me than one piece. I think the collection of them being up there is significant for me.
I think when I think about a piece that resonates with me, your question, during the first 6 months I was painting, I started abstract because, again, I had told myself I couldn't draw. And I did a painting, and my husband said, that looked like a sweet potato. And so I was like, and he's so brutally honest. So I took that piece, and I said, okay, fine. You don't like my sweet potato. I painted over it, and that was the first piece I sold. So to me, that's significant because although I was mad that my husband said it looked like a sweet potato, he was right. It looked like a sweet potato, and I didn't just throw the canvas away. I said, you know what? Let me reimagine what I can do. As somebody saw the beauty in it. So that's significant for me. Huge.
I think for me, here recently, I lost my daughter, my 19-year-old, and so I didn't think that I was gonna be able to paint. And I painted this beautiful picture of this angel holding me up, and that let me know I was gonna be able to go on. So that's big for me.
That's huge.
Excuse me, if you struggle with this,
Wait a minute, we went to that.
okay. Thank you. If you struggle with imposter syndrome, what was the moment that your mindset changed from I create art to I am an artist? So when did you realize that, if you did, or do you think it's something that you never fully come out of?
Imposter syndrome is but no, for me, I still battle with, am I really an artist, or am I just making this stuff and putting it up on the wall and be like, look at this, and like, oh, it's nice, okay, I guess I am an artist. But for me, it's a constant battle with imposter syndrome, because I don't always feel like I belong, because for so long I was such an outcast and a weirdo just in school and things, and it's still kind of weird that now that I finally embrace that part of myself, now people are like, oh, it's fine now. What about back then? But it's a constant battle for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ebony. I think, to answer your question, for me, my first day that I attended ULR, or the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, as an art student, after at 50, you know, and I'm like, am I really in art school and I can't draw a stick figure? Like, really? Like, why am I really here? What am I really doing? And when my instructors, like the one sitting right next to you, said, you can do this, you know, then I believed in myself that I really could be this artist that I think I am, that I feel I am, and I kind of dropped the imposter piece and just decided that I was going to be an artist, that my pieces may not look like somebody else's, but they're me. And so I had to just drop the pretense of, no, you're not an artist, and say to myself, I'm an artist. I'm not masquerading, I'm an artist.
I started with affirmations. I had been writing affirmations online years before I left my job, because life will make you forget who you are. It'll make you forget what you're capable of. So I started that process of speaking it. I am. And I have to constantly remind myself. Sometimes I forget. And because of that, I am. So whatever you say you are, even if you don't feel like it that day, you are that. Because you said it. And the universe bends and moves to what you say. And we have to remember that we have power. And the only time I say I'm not an artist is because I forgot I had that power to say it.
Come on. Yeah.
Hey, I'm still a poet.
First of all, I'd like to say, man, this is a powerful exhibit, and I am just so proud to be here amongst y'all great artists. My question is, how do you feel, and explain the experience of bringing a piece to completion? Bringing that when you're finally there and you say it's ready to show. I know as a creative how I feel. I'm just, woo. It's like, but how do you feel and explain that?
Is it ever really finished?
I know, right?
No. It's never finished.
It's never completion.
I think I think I stop when I feel like I'm trying to do something. You know, you're like, oh, I can add this and add that. To me, when I feel like I'm forcing, then I need to back away. And then I may, like she said, she'd look at it for a couple of days. I might stare at it for, just looking at it. And if I can't think of anything that can easily enhance it, I put my signature on it and I don't go back. Once I sign it, I'm done. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because you can do too much. I've messed up a few things by just adding so much because I didn't think it was enough. That I've learned, to just walk away, look at it, and say, it's ready. I remember sculpting a bust of Jesus, and it was due for, it was a class project, and it was due for a class, and I mean, Jesus' dreads was all right on, and I had done it, it was just, had polished it with black and brown shoe polish, it was just perfect. I looked at it, I ran my bath water, because I was ready to take this bath, and I was looking at it, and I was like, something's missing, wait a minute, and I went and I did something with that brush, with the thing, and the bust fell over, and smacked and hit the floor. Flattened Jesus out, I mean. Oh, Jesus. And he would do that next day, and he would do that day because I'd stayed up all night, touching it up. And I took this flattened head of Jesus to class, and my professor said, look, we got to start all over. We got to cut this out, and then you can redo it, But looking at that experience early on, taught me that when you run your bath water, take it back.
Take it back.
There's no more to be done. Take the bath, okay? Because you can do too much. I did redo that bust of Jesus, from that point. It would have been better had I been able to do it from the armature that I did at the beginning, but he sat at my church for about 15 years, and he's still hanging on. Jesus, and now Jesus looks, you know, like he's been through some stuff.
I like the first
He
one.
wasn't like the first one, you know, he been through some stuff. And listen, Jesus has taken on a whole new thing in my house. So I've learned, you know, to not do too much to a piece because you can't, you know, mess it up.
See, my process is a little different because I do print after print after print, and I will continue to do a whole bunch of prints, but I also have to coat the paper before I can print. And so I'll get to a point where I'm like, I don't feel like doing anymore. And so I have to like go through all the previous prints. I'm like, okay, this one's good. I don't need to do any more. And then there's like a sense of relief to, you know, that I'm satisfied with the prints that I have.
My process is different. Well, like, when it's in my head, I can just get on the canvas and do it really quick, and then towards the end is when I pull it together, and I keep working at it to make it pop and say what I needed to say and feel how I needed to feel. So I kind of like the end better than the beginning.
It's only a
if
woman.
that makes sense.
It's only a woman in the front desk. It's only a woman in the front desk.
All right. Home grandma duty here. Okay, so is there any more questions before I ask the last two? Okay, so what's the one word you want a young girl to feel, a young man to feel when they walk out of Hearne Fine Art after seeing your work?
Strength.
Inspired.
Encouraged.
Love.
Okay. So you heard it here. You heard it at Hearne Fine Art. You see these amazing artists. Now it's your turn. So you know what you need to do. You need to collect, because art is a form of generational wealth. And art and real estate are the two things that never change their value unless you make that decision or you don't take care of it. And art is a lot easier to take care of than real estate. Trust me. So I want to let you all have the last word, but I want to thank you all for being here today, because you could be so many other places and you came out to hear these beautiful artists. And I want to thank each of you for your diligence and for answering my questions and, you know, doing all the things that I've asked you to do to make this exhibit possible. So I want to thank you. And so you guys have the last word. You want to start here or here? Which one wants to start? Start on this end.
I just want to say that I'm truly honored to be in this space and to share my thoughts about my art and myself with you guys, and for your attentiveness, and just for being with these beautiful women, artists. And it just kind of lets me know that I got to keep going now. And I'll buy some art. Yeah. Take a little away and things.
Yeah. The same. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in the room, on the walls, amongst all of the artists that are featured in this exhibition, especially my emerging artist sisters right here. You know. Thank you, Garbo, for believing in me, because it took me a long time to even think I was worthy of having my art here. And it started with the cards, and I kept waiting and waiting, and Miss Phyllis Brown out there said, just bring those cards up here and let her see them. And I said, but they're not ready. She said, bring them up here. And I just threw them in a tub and brought them up here, and Garbo said, oh my God, we gotta have you here. And from there, you know, people were taking my cards, which I consider a piece of art because every one is individual, and they were framing them. And so they were buying bigger pieces. And so thank you for the opportunity to grow in this space. And thank you all for loving my stuff and appreciating it and sharing it. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm grateful to be on the wall with these women, with Alice too, because I consider Alice one of my art mentor.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I've known her for like 20 years, even whenever she would go overseas and live in Tanzania. But she always like took time with me and taught my nieces and nephews when they were little too. But I'm just grateful to be a part of this show and honored.
I'm grateful, I'm thankful, just to be in the building. You know, like Garbo and her gallery, and I was like, girl, it is. You know, so I'm very, very grateful and thankful, and humble as well. Thank you, yes.
Well, yeah, I turned it around. I wanted you to keep it about you because it is about you. There are no galleries without artists, no bookstores without authors. So I'm just a platform. That's it. And I'm grateful for the community. We've been around since 1988 because of the community and because of you, your willingness to be here. So again, thank you. I'll see you all May 1st for our happy hour and May 2nd with our conversation with Marjorie Williams Smith and Alice Ayers. So put it on your calendars because I want you to come back. And I want you to tell your friends about it and take some art home. We have amazing payment options. This is one thing, feel like it's a piece of stock. And art is one of the things that calls you. I don't sell art. I facilitate you having it on your wall. So come see me. Thank you.